Cunha. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Wonderful. Really happy to be here and to be dry on this wet day.
Me too. I mean, unfortunately, that's not going to maintain, but I'm so excited that you're here. You know, I've talked about it plenty of times on my personal platforms as Miss Universe Cayman Islands, as a psychology degree. But for those who might not know, specifically first, what is trauma?
Yeah, very simply put, trauma is a response we have to an experience that makes us feel unsafe and takes away our power of agency.
Okay.
That can be an experience that's actually happened to us, that we witnessed happen to someone we love, or in our country or community or in the world, or a perception of something that happened to us.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be an actual incident. It could be something we think somebody said to us or meant about us.
Interesting.
And it makes us feel uncomfortable. It leaves an impact, and it subliminally rules the decisions we make and the way we approach life.
It's so interesting, you know, this whole topic, and it's something I always say, it's not talked about enough in Cayman especially. It's this unique or niche intergenerational trauma. Tell us what this is specifically.
Yeah, so intergenerational trauma is how trauma is transmitted. Very simply, what we don't process is transmitted to the next generation. This happens in two ways. One is through our genetics. It happens through our genes, because genes carry information, right?
I was going to ask, how does it present itself scientifically? And it shows up in DNA, you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
And there's a field of science called epigenetics, which means that, you know, we used to think in science in the past that your life was determined by the genes you had, and you couldn't really change anything, you know, unlike this, because my mama's like this, you know. And we know now from science that you can turn on or off genes based on, you know, if I want to simplify it, 4 primary things: nutrition, connection, movement, and rest.
Interesting.
Right? And the way that these 4 interact can either turn on a gene or turn off a gene, right? And so trauma is transmitted genetically and also by conditioning, right? So if you grow up, prejudice is a kind of, if somebody experiences prejudice, it can be traumatic to them, right? And that is transmitted culturally.
So we talk about, you know, the scientific aspect of it, but on a day-to-day, how does, you know, trauma or intergenerational trauma present itself in everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk specifically about how it presents in the Caribbean. I've done a lot of corporate work for large organizations with a lot of people that are local Caribbean Caymanian, you know. And there's, firstly, in Caribbean culture, it's such a melting pot, right? There's people that are Chinese, Indian from Trinidad, or people that have come as indentured laborers to Guyana. There's, you know, there's just, it's such a melting pot, and Cayman is really like a holding spot for so many different cultures. And so all those different experiences that ancestors have had. So for example, if your ancestors grew up with scarcity because they didn't have enough, right? It can show up as always feeling like I don't have enough, or I'll never have enough, or I need to grab and hold on. Simple ways that it shows up is, you know, like, say you have a perfume, right? And you say, I'm not gonna use the whole bottle, I'm just gonna keep like that much.
Interesting.
I'm gonna use just a little bit. And you don't realize where it's coming from, but it's often coming from, you never know when you're gonna run out of things. You always gotta have stuff for the rainy day. And that comes with like not getting rid of stuff that you don't need from your home, right? Because our grandparents might have said, you never know when the hurricane's gonna come and you're gonna have nothing. So you better be sure. I mean, please do your hurricane preparedness. But you know, the hoarding, for example.
And so these are the more, you know, psychological impacts. You're about to get into the hoarding, like you're saying, because that's a mental health issue.
It is, yeah. And even things like the way that we relate to our children or the way we behave, right? So there's a huge history, ancestral, transgenerational history of slavery in the Caribbean. And so when your ancestors were slaves, they couldn't say anything because you would be out of line and you would lose your life. And it comes out in the way we teach, the way we parent, and we say, you better not be misbehaving, you better get in line now. Right? And we don't realize, because it's so kind of accepted, it's just like how everybody talks. You know, I did a thing with Dr. Bella on menopause, and somebody was sharing, you know, a Caymanian woman said, you know, I really want to learn about menopause because, you know, when I talk about it in my family, they're like, yeah, we went through it. It's just suck it up, you know, suck it up, buttercup.
I would say, you know, how you're talking about this right now, especially in Cayman, we always say, you know, man up, you know, get up, man up. But it's so important that we understand how to break the cycle and really heal. I think we have some graphics to kind of talk about the steps, but coming from you, a professional, what are the steps that people can take?
I mean, the first and most important step is being aware and being open to recognizing that intergenerational trauma is present for pretty much every single person. It's not something that happens out there to people that are addicts or, you know, whatever. All of us have some amount of intergenerational trauma. And just recognizing that allows us to connect with each other and with people who we were like, oh, they're just strange, right? So that recognition first. And then the simplest way is to make sure we're hitting lifestyle changes, right? So that we can tackle the epigenetics. And it's those 4 areas, like the quality of nutrition that we have affects the gene expression. Right? So let me give you a simple example. If you're stressed, you're more likely to have poor quality choices in your food. But also, if you don't have enough money or resources, you're also likely to have poor quality of food, which affects your physical health. There's no such thing as physical health and mental health, right? Because science is showing us now that it's always been, you know, all of this, it's all connected. So nutrition, movement of your thoughts, don't be stuck about your ideas. Don't judge the people that pass the traumas to you, right? Connection with yourself, with source, God, with others. And then rest. In slavery, for example, in all highly productive cultures, rest is to die, because if you rest, you're going to get whipped. And we don't know how to rest.
Well, Miss Mirabelle, we are definitely going to have you back on, because I can tell this topic is so interesting, it's so impactful, but thank you so much. But for now, let's have a look at your weather this morning.